The Great Awakening. Tens of millions of people on the planet waking up to the systems that have kept us trapped and corrupted by the powers that be. Is this possible? Millions of people waking up from sleepy 3D consciousness into higher realms of awareness and reality and finding out the true nature of reality? Follow along with me in this video where I explore the idea of the Great Awakening and why it's not what you think it is, and what it's going to take for us to actually break out of our sleepy consciousness and wake up to the true nature of reality. So let's get right into it. The Great Awakening. I heard of this term shortly after large corporate organizations like the World Economic Forum saying things like there's going to be a great reset where you will own nothing and you will be happy. And so I started looking into what people were thinking about this. And the rhetoric was people are pushing back against this narrative of us going into this dystopian George Orwell 1984 society. And instead, there will be a massive awakening of consciousness as people saw the things that they were being subjected to, these sort of open air prisons that these people in charge wish for us to be in. The Great Awakening is possible; it's happening. But there's a critical thing we must recognize and break, which is going to be incredibly hard for us to do. But if we do it, it's going to happen, and we'll be living in the 4D and 5D consciousness that our ancient ancestors were living in. It was a world that was very much different than the time today. So, what is that one thing that we must know? Well, technically, it's two things, but the first thing is our perception of this reality. And our minds have been conditioned to think in lower vibrational states that we now have to break out of. But our perception is sort of a block of ice that is floating in a sea of unlimited possibilities and unlimited probabilities of our perception. David Icke wrote a really good book I've been reading recently called The Trap. And one of the things he explains in this book is how our minds have become sort of ice like. There are anchors that have been put into our reality that we identify as truths, even though they're not true. And the vast majority of society will identify with these truths. Now, the most important thing that I said we would have to break as a society and recognize as a society to become truly free would be to recognize that everything in our world, our current 3D reality, is duality. Duality meaning good versus bad, right versus wrong, Democrat versus Republican, and realizing that these things are all on the scale of the same spectrum. Now, this duality is what's kept mankind enslaved under this certain type of perception for thousands of years. And this is why our higher guides come in with so much wisdom when we connect with them, because they don't see our world in terms of duality. They don't see something as being good or bad. In fact, they can find good in a lot of things that we consider very bad, and they can find many great intentions on this planet that are the pathways to hell. And so our perception of our reality is quite warped. And in order for us to break it and break out of it, I believe it is really important we make these connections with our higher guides who have a completely different perspective on our reality. In fact, they embody the unlimited abundance, the unlimited perspective, and unlimited probabilities of our reality. And if we were to wake up to this and realize that duality, it's time to come to an end for duality, honestly, would end all wars, would end the way our economic systems work, would end your need to rely on your subsistence that you're getting from the system that tends to entrap us. But how do we do that collectively as a society? And that is something that is going to take, I think, a rude awakening for people, but also an acceptance that there are other possibilities out there. It's really hard for me to imagine this to just happen spontaneously. I think a lot of people don't want to wake up for fear out of their support systems, the things that they rely on. But if everybody can make the commitment to make a connection with their higher guides, they may remember what it means to be human. And this is why I put such an importance on channeling and higher guides, because even though I've discovered it very recently, it's given me so much more depth and wisdom to things I was already thinking about in my life. And has completely shifted my view of reality to something that I can make as my own. I really, literally can create my own reality. And I'm doing that as I'm speaking to you right now. If there's one takeaway from this video, it is to start making these connections with these higher guides. Start connecting with these other beings that are trying to help us and progress humanity towards a utopian or brighter future. With that being said, let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think we're all screwed? Do you think the globalists are going to get their great reset? Or do you think we're on the path of mass awakening? Let me know, friends. Peace.